And here we are to record our final episode of season 1 of What Now on the Threshold of Life, Death, and Grief. I'm Julie Brown, here with my friends and colleagues.
David Kennedy.
And Red Keating.
And here we are, guys, recording our last episode. We came into season 1 thinking we might record, I don't know, maybe 8 episodes, and like 20-ish later, or however many later, here we are wrapping up.
We got carried away.
And we're still friends.
And we're still friends. We still like each other. Oh, I like you guys still.
Well, that's feelings mutual.
Yep. I think, and we've covered a lot of ground. I think for me, when we first started, we thought, well, we'll talk about grief. And I don't know if we had a clear idea of the breadth of stuff that we would be talking. And at least I didn't necessarily have a sense of the incredible people that we've been able to include in this as guests. I mean, that to me, I've really enjoyed having that wonderful input by others into this.
Yeah. So who stands so we just thought we would make this this will be a short episode, but just kind of pulling out some of the themes, the highlights that stand out for us. Let's just talk a little bit about some of the guests that we had.
Well, they were the highlight because it's so much fun to meet people and hear other people's ideas. And I mean, we had a lot of response and feedback with our episode with Dr. Dasani. I think maybe because in our neck of the woods, and probably in all necks of the woods, those who are without shelter and homes are rising to the surface as a real social issue. And his work of offering palliative care to those on the street, I think, sort of really struck a chord here in Peterborough. So and the other thing, they're such wonderful speakers. I mean, I stumble all through everything, and they just are eloquent. I like listening to them speak.
Right. And wonderful people. I mean, that's even the latest one that will come out in season 2. You read for these others, you read their books. Blair Bingham was another one that I think resonated a great deal, and we got a lot of feedback on. But you read their books, and then you get a chance to hear them, and I think that's such a wonderful gift to be able to hear their heart, because you get a sense of who they are, not just by how you're reading their book, but listening to them talk about things. And I was taken with both Dr. Nasani and with Dr. Bingham on their willingness to be human and vulnerable, and to be open with their own lives and their own experiences, and even some of their own challenges. I just appreciated that openness with them, with all of our guests, actually.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that theme of Dr. Dasani, Dr. Bingham, Dr. Caitlin Wilson, Dr. John Beamish, this running like a stream through all those episodes of their like deep sense of like humanity and compassion and like love, like that word was used, love for patients and families in our communities. And I just had so many of these moments where we were interviewing them where it felt like such deep, privileged work just to sit and listen to the work they've done and continue to do in their communities.
I don't think that shouldn't be a surprise, but it is how easy they were to talk to, and how much they, as you guys said, how much they shared, and that they were genuinely nice people, and seemed to enjoy the experience. Like they seemed to be having fun, which was nice to see too. It didn't feel like work. It felt like just really having a conversation with a really, really intelligent, well-spoken person who was willing to share all that they had with anyone who would listen. And it did feel like an honor. Like, why are we getting to speak to all these great people? As we, what an honor.
The other piece I appreciated in this first series was the opportunity to give voice and discussion to things that we don't normally talk about. So I'm thinking of ambiguous loss, for instance, and the opportunity to name it and to explore it and to really allow it to be present without judgment and say, no, this is, we experience this and this is real. So there, again, for those opportunities to be able to put names and discussion and voice to some of these things that we experience, because where else do we go to hear that? Where else do we get a chance to talk about those things? So again, for me, that was one of the highlights.
For me, a theme running through all of our episodes was this idea of giving space. That's so core to this work, whether it's in palliative medicine, whether it's in the medical assistance in dying, the homeless people, our grief experiences, is like we need to give our human experiences space, permission to be as we are, permission to allow others to be as they are. And that was a theme that just kept coming up over and over. Like, how do we support people? We give them space, right? How do we support ourselves in grief, or when we're dealing with a new diagnosis or supporting a caregiver? We give them space, right? We allow people to be as they are, that we don't have to show up in these shiny, happy, optimistic ways, unless that is how we are in the moment, but that we just make room and space for the whole human experience. And that felt like a theme that showed up in every single one of our episodes.
And I know you won't say this, Julie, but another episode that got a lot of feedback and a lot of people saying, I just listened to this, and it was your episode where you shared your story. I know that it's one of the most recent ones, but it's also, it has had a lot of people come up to me and say, I just listened to that, and wow, lots of compliments toward you for sharing and taking that risk. But people really appreciated that sort of perspective of someone who's been through the experience, and how you allowed the space for the experience to be incredibly traumatic and stressful and scary, at the same time it being full of love and support and companionship and sort of humanity. So that was certainly a highlight that was great to be a part of, but to hear other people also say that they've listened to it and it meant something to them too, or it rang true for them, was nice. I think that's the other thing that we're doing. It's that reaching people that you would never maybe reach. It's a weird thing. I always say, we sit around a couple of microphones and talk, and then send it out, and you never know. Hearing from who's listening to it from strange places and places you might not have ever expected, and it's like, wow, that's neat to be that it as a vehicle reaches more people than we could reach on our own individually.
And I think that's a key, that it's something that can be there and people can embrace it, and we don't know which episode or what word in that episode is going to have a particular meaning for people, but I'm thankful for even the tough stuff, like that one we did on the value of vigil. Well, nobody likes to imagine that process, and yet can we have a discussion about it? Can we talk about, there's even the title, there's actually value that we can find in the midst of that. So I'm grateful that we've been able to do that.
What are some things maybe those listening would like to hear from us about? Maybe what have we learned, or how has it impacted us doing this? Like, let's just let us speak a bit personally.
I think it always comes out from the other. I wonder where it's going to go, because it's pretty loose. There are those ones where you go, ugh, I wish I hadn't said that. I don't know if my contributions were all that good, but the nice part about that is it's okay, because that's just one episode. It was one, maybe it's comment or statement that was, you're not sure if you came out with that the right way, the way you wanted to say it, but that you just keep working. And that, because, as you said, we were going to maybe do 8 or 10, and I think we did end up with about 17. And I think we just got working and working, and just like you just keep pumping and moving forward. And yeah, I think as we got more comfortable, maybe we got more relaxed. I'm hoping that they get sounding better. I think about when the first ones we did, when we were just sitting in a room at hospice saying we should be recording these conversations, and we had those little microphones and we put them on YouTube, and I guess that's another thing. The support of hospice to do this has been a wonderful thing to support this work that we're doing. So I think that's what I've learned from it. Just keep doing it, keep working, and you get better. And how much I've learned myself from doing it. I mean, our guests have been wonderful. Our topics, to hear things framed differently, but it might be the same message, but framed differently gives you that other perspective. And now I'm talking too much, but for me, I've really enjoyed that. I love listening to you guys and how you frame things.
I think for me too, it's been a journey of recognizing that this is not something that just touches a few people, but this is something that all of us experience at some point in our life. And I think that universality of our humanness is an important place to be. And I on a personal level, it has helped me to recognize that no, this isn't a niche in life. This is part of life, and it touches so many people. And because we don't do a good job generally in our culture of allowing people to be, in mourning or in grief, that often people try to hide those pieces. And I think giving them permission to be okay with that as a normal experience is also helpful for me to realize that I need to be open that way too, and to recognize not to push it aside, but to see it as a normal aspect of living.
Yeah, our common humanity.
Common humanity.
Like we're all more alike than we are different.
Isn't that true? Yeah. And I think that would be true. I mean, these same topics can go worldwide, really. I mean, it are things that people in every culture experience. They'll experience it differently, but the basis of it is there. And I think it's kind of fun for us to be able to do this and I like you, Red, I have so much appreciation for both of you, I love the way we can connect, and we all think about things in a lot of ways similar, but in many ways we come at them different too, which is wonderful, and I just think it's great. So.
Yeah, I was just going to say, this to me is just yet another time in my life where I learned that, trust the process, right? Like we move into these conversations. People ask me, if we script these, which we don't. We do some very, we often do research in the background, but we come into them. It's very loose. And part of this is, we trust each other. We trust the process. We trust that it'll go where it needs to go, as Red said. If we make a mistake, then we trust that we can get back on and away we go. And so that's been part of the learning for me. I have been in awe of just, our guest speakers and some of the conversations we've had. And just as a little teaser, I'm pretty darn excited about what's coming. We've already recorded 2 of our episodes that will be airing in the fall, and we've got a couple more we're recording this summer, and so we're gonna move into the fall for season 2 in a position of strength, hopefully having some in the bank. And they're pretty exciting speakers.
Yeah, a little I don't know, little story, a shout out to John Beamish, who has been a guest 3 times. He joined us for our little YouTube experiment. And then I don't know if we said it, but I'm sure we might have, but that, the second time we had him on, the recording didn't work. And so he graciously came back a 3rd time for a recording. And we haven't had another guest have to do that, but it was nice that he just that he believed in it too, that was kind of cool. And he would offer that pretty valuable time for him to come and spend that with us. So, yeah,
definitely.
I'm looking forward to season 2.
Me too.
Yeah.
And thank you for a great season 1. And let's just give a shout out to the people that listen, to Hospice Peterborough, to the people there at Hospice that just continuously support it. I know our volunteers have done a great job supporting it. And thank you to every single person who's listened to an episode and thought of a friend or a relative or a colleague or a neighbor, and they pass it on, because that's what we hope for. We hope that these will serve and support people when they need it. So thank you for people for listening. And we hope that you will continue that in season 2.
Yeah, and I think Hospice is planning to maybe start to play some repeats over the summer, just to keep it flowing. But yeah, looking forward to be back in September with some new episodes. All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right.
Thanks for listening to What Now? On the Threshold of Life, Death, and Grief. What Now is produced in partnership with Hospice Peterborough. Music is by Paradise Garage, and technical support provided by Sean and Jonah Heichert. What Now is recorded at Thin Spaces Studios. You can find more episodes of What Now for free on most major podcast platforms, including Spotify, CastBox, Apple Podcasts, and Overcast. If you want to support us, please follow and leave a review wherever you get your podcasts, and tell your friends. It does make a difference.